We are getting blessed. The Lord has been blessing us. And I want to share with you, even before I start, some mysteries of fasting. I don't want you to take this period for granted. It is very visionary of your bishop to declare this time as a moment of fasting. But before everything, I want you to know this. I know some of you has been struggling to go through this process of fast. But let me tell you, there is no gift of fasting. We fast willingly. If you meet somebody who can fast for quite a good number of days and a good number of hours, he has not received any gift of fasting. He is just very serious and very keen to have an encounter with God. Let me tell you, fasting moves with having an encounter with God. So what some people do, that they stay away from food, they abstain from food without having a personal time of prayer, they are not fasting, they are starving. If somebody is fasting, then I can see that he's staying away from food, abstaining from food, but at the same time having an encounter with the Lord through prayer. Fasting is not fasting unless it is accompanied with prayer. Fasting becomes starving when there is no space for prayer. Let me tell you something. The main subject of fasting is not you staying away from food. It's not starvation, but it is seeking for God. We fast to get so close to God. We fast to be well connected in the spirit, because the apostle Paul said something in the book of Romans. He said the flesh wars against the spirit. You know, you consist of two different entities, your flesh and your spirit, and each one is seeking for dominion over the other. Each one is seeking for power over the other. Your flesh wants to overcome your spirit. Your spirit also wants to overcome your flesh. It's just like two brothers fighting over properties. One wants to overcome the other. So it is entirely up to you, the soul, to decide that I give my authority to the spirit to take over me, or I give the authority to my flesh to overcome me. So as the flesh is warring, or as the flesh is at war against the spirit, there are at times you need to punish the flesh to prove a point to the spirit that you have given the dominion mandate to the spirit to control you. So I always say something, that the punishment of the flesh is the survival of the spirit. If you cannot punish your flesh, you are giving your spirit no reason to survive. A typical example, you remember when you were very young, when you were a kid, somebody will cause you to cry. You go to your mom, immediately your mom turns to beat the person who made you cry. You keep quiet. His punishment has become a consolation to you. Even when your mother makes an attempt to beat that one, you see a child or a kid who falls on the ground, the mother says, let me beat the ground, and you see the mother stamping feet on the ground, and the child is okay. At the end of the day, he knows that his or her mother chose her over the ground. So the punishment tends to be a consolation and a proof to him that he needs to be quiet. In the same way, anytime you punish your flesh, you are giving a consolation to your spirit that it must take over. Don't follow food and satisfy your flesh all the time whilst your spirit hungers. Because as food is to the survival and growth of the flesh, so is fasting to the survival and growth of your spirit. Are you getting blessed? And I hope you are getting me. As food is for the survival and growth of the flesh, so is fasting necessary for the survival and growth of your spirit. There's not any time that you must eat. You must prepare a place of encounters. So Jesus said something, that I crucified my flesh, took his flesh through a whole lot of pains. He is tired, although, but he said, let me go to Galilee and also preach the gospel, working for the spirit whilst he crucifies the flesh. And Jesus stated it emphatically, that if one does not crucify the flesh, he cannot be a believer. There is no man who walks with a true power and a dominion mandate who doesn't fast. Your fast gets you so connected to the realm of the spirit and the realm of God. Many a times we laugh at Esau. How foolish can this man be? He chooses food over his destiny. But I tell you, that is what most of us are doing here. We choose food over our destinies. There are at times we need to abstain from food, have an encounter with God, and shape our destinies, whereas food will never give us the chance. We choose food over our destiny. Food is good for your growth. Food is good for your health. But let me tell you, food is at times dangerous spiritually. I've told you about Esau. It was an account of food. Esau in the Bible exchanged his destiny for food. Don't take fasting for granted. It is a preparation for your spiritual life. It is a preparation and a proof to your spirit and a proof to God that you don't care about the flesh. You are ready to crucify the flesh. You are ready to let the flesh go through pains for the survival of the spirit. I tell you. So if Jesus says this kind does not go except by fasting and prayers, know that Jesus is trying to prove a point. That the level that this situation has gotten to, you need to build an intimacy and an encounter with God before you can overcome. Learn to fast. Fasting is dangerous. In the book of Acts 23, that is a chapter that compelled me to dedicate myself to fasting. You remember a group of people who went to diviners and said, we are staying away from food. We are not eating until Paul dies. People of the world even know how to stay away from food for the evil spirit to be quickened and work against an anointed man. Keep eating everything you get, and I tell you, you will eat and eat and eat your destiny. May the Lord keep us in the spirit, and may the Lord keep us spiritually conscious to see fasting as one of the relevant tools to build a good relationship with God.